Hello, my name is Luca, and I'd like to bring you some light. Cryptocurrency! The moment that you think that your bags are gonna pump to the moon, and you're gonna make a lifetime's worth of money in days or weeks, all of a sudden the whole market's crashing, and you've lost half your money, and you're thinking about selling so you don't lose any more. The reality is, in cryptocurrency and any other market, it requires patience and knowing when to buy and knowing when to sell. And I personally, I love Cardano. And at times, my emotional feelings towards Cardano have kept me from making the best decisions I could in the market, although I have read it reasonably well. It's important to not fall in love with an asset because that asset will never love you back. And in many cases, although the value of money itself and what that will mean in the future is up for debate right now, we still need to risk manage our portfolios. And especially if we are actively trading and not just thinking about long-term investing, then we need to make sure that we are buying at the right times and selling at the right times. So I have a few different assets that I'm interested in looking at today. That would be ADA, Cardano, the US dollar, which has a lot of impact on all of the markets, and then Bitcoin. Because for now, almost all cryptocurrencies are tethered to Bitcoin's performance. And Bitcoin and stock markets are tethered to the dollar's performance. So we're going to look at that stuff, and hopefully we'll have some clarity and some peace of mind on how we can work our portfolios right now to best position ourselves for all scenarios, because we're going to look at bullish and bearish scenarios, because there's always a narrative and a fight between those two groups to push the price up or down. So let's get into it. All right, so right here I have a program called TradingView. You can get free editions of it that have less indicators than I have on the screen right now. It's very, very helpful for trading. You're going to need something like this in order to really have any chance of success. I know there's some other ones out there that are pretty good too, but anyways, let's see what we're looking at. So back here in May, we formed a descending triangle for ADA, and towards the very close to the apex of that triangle, we ended up getting a breakout, and a very large one at that. And after that happened, I started paying attention to another descending triangle, and here around November 9th, we got a breakout out of that triangle, which I thought was going to lead to a lot more bullish and a lot more price appreciation for ADA at that time. However, the larger markets took a dump then, and largely it was a fake out. So we ended up breaking down through the bottom of this descending triangle, and whenever you do break through the bottom of a descending triangle, the targets end up pretty low. And as you can tell with Cardano, we dropped all the way down to around $1.20, which is a long-term area of support. It's actually the original breakout that we had back towards the end of July. So coming back and testing that support is not necessarily a big problem, but going lower than that level of 120 is a huge bearish concern for me. Obviously I'll be looking to accumulate more ADA if it does go lower than this, because this project has so much going on, and it's really, of all the projects, probably the most transparent and best positioned to succeed going forward in real world usage terms. And so if the price does go lower, then we would have to consider ourselves entering into a bear market, and it'll just be time to accumulate and wait for the next bull run. But however, in my thesis, I don't believe that the bull run is over. So I drew what could only be referred to as a Luca triangle. And I don't know that it has a whole lot of meaning, but what I'm looking at is a potential breakout of this Luca triangle at somewhere around December 25th. So maybe we'll have a happy Christmas as ADA holders. But if that happens, we will already be up at around 186, and then that gives me my longer term price target of around 450 towards mid to late February, and my specific date prediction on that would be February 22nd, because it's 2, and that's pretty cool. So if that ends up being our market peak at 450 for ADA, that'll be what it is. I'll be looking to sell there for sure, and of course reaccumulate when prices are lower during the bear market. And in my thesis, the bear market is coming, and although we do have a slightly extended cycle, I believe, for this cryptocurrency bull market, it's not going to extend out until June, in my opinion, although it's a possibility. So looking at ADA, I could see it coming back down to test around 118 and 119. If we fall below there, I will be highly concerned, and I may be exiting a lot of my positions if we hit that price point, because if we break that support for any significant amount of time, I will be concerned that we're entering into a longer term bear market, and there will probably be lower prices to buy at then. On the bullish scenario with ADA, I look for it to come and hit this $1.86 target around Christmas, and that would be the beginning of our real breakout, heading towards around 450 February 22nd. That's the bullish scenario that I'm leaning towards for ADA. Obviously, I've made it clear I love this asset, so I tend to lean pretty bullish on it. So that's what I'm seeing right now in ADA. Now let's move over to the dollar. I drew some lines in here on the dollar, and let me reposition this a little bit. So going back to around the end of May, which is around the time that we started seeing some struggles for Bitcoin, we saw the dollar sort of bottom out here. And now I'm looking at a long-term uptrending level of support for the dollar. Okay, so this indicates to me that overall on the dollar we're going to be moving up for a while, possibly a year or more. But in the short term, there is a shorter term uptrending level of support that I'm looking at here, which is this line. And what I believe in the bullish scenario for Bitcoin, what could happen is we could come back to this level of support and fail to hold it. And if that happens, then the dollar will continue to decline till about January 12th is what I'm looking at. And at that point, we would maybe be seeing that long-term level of support hold for the dollar, which would push it much higher in the future, somewhere up here in over the hundreds range for the DXY, which is how I'm tracking the dollar's value. But yeah, in the short term, this makes a slightly bullish move for Bitcoin possible, as we may see it come back down into these support lines. If it breaks through this short-term level of support and comes down to this line, then I expect that we mainly just have upside for Bitcoin from here. However, if it hits this shorter-term level of support and has a bounce, we could be looking at more struggles for Bitcoin in the short term. So that will kind of make more sense as we move over to the Bitcoin chart here. So looking at the Bitcoin chart, similarly, we have a long-term level of support, an ascending level of support, going back all the way to almost a year ago. And we've only had one real test of that uptrending level of support. So my anticipation is that we will come down to test this long-term uptrending level of support. And basically what I could see happening in the short term is within the next couple days, we come up to the bottom of this descending triangle here. And what happened with this descending triangle, and it was pretty funny, with my godson, I'm doing a trading portfolio, and I was kind of letting him do what he wanted to in the beginning. And when we reached this point right here, we were in a call together, and I said, the right thing to do as a trader is to sell all of your assets right now. Because we were actually 70% of the way through this triangle, and it was 69.99% at the time. But these descending triangles usually break down, and when they do, it's usually about 70% of the way through this triangle. So we saw it hit that 70%, and it was testing the bottom of the hi meatball, easy boy. We hit the bottom of this triangle at around 70%, and since we were at the bottom and not the top, it was more likely for it to break down. And we had a big breakdown from there, and it came all the way to this longer term breakout support here around the $42,000 area. We've had a nice recovery since then, which is expected. It does show strength in the market, but what I'm looking at here is for Bitcoin price to come back up to the bottom of this descending triangle. So that gives us a price target of around 53,500. I anticipate we hit that within the next few days. And when we do, we reject off of that and come back down to around $38,000. And I know it's hard when you're in the moment and everything's going down, but this is a long-term bullish move if we go down to that level and catch a nice bounce off of it. You know, you notice when we've hit this level before, it allows us more extended gains. Okay, so when we hit this level of support before around July 21st, the uptrend lasted for a good month and a half from there. So if we were to hit this around December 20th, maybe earlier, you know, it could be December 15th or so, we could be looking at about a month and a half of uptrend from bouncing off of that support. You know, there's chances that the $47,000 range might hold a support, and the 42,000 again, but I anticipate that we come up to this 53,500 and fall down. Yeah, fall down from there to around 37.5, and then have our final run, in my view, of Bitcoin's bull run. Now, some altcoins, based on my readings, like, for example, I see Bitcoin peaking out at around 120,000 somewhere in the late January range. Okay, so I'm thinking we'll get around 120,000 for the market peak of Bitcoin, and it'll be somewhere in the January, late 20s in January, maybe 29th, somewhere 29th to 30th area. And then after that, we'll start seeing altcoins take off. And then I would be looking to exit most of my altcoin positions before the end of February. That's not to say that we couldn't have another leg up of the bull run. That's always a possibility. We'll have to keep an eye on the macroeconomic conditions in the world. You know, is there more stimulus going out? You know, what does the economy look like in general? What kind of civil unrest is there? All those things are going to factor into whether we enter into an extended bear market after this peak, or if we, you know, enter into really a recession, which is what I'm thinking is going to happen. But we'll talk more about that in other videos. But I hope this technically analysis helps. This is some of the stuff that I'm looking at. In the trading portfolio that I'm doing with my nephew, I said I'm going to exit half of my positions when Bitcoin gets to 53,000. So that way, if it does indeed take this dip as I'm expecting down to the $38,000 area, if it does that, we will have cash prepared to buy, and altcoins will be beat down really, really bad. There'll be a lot of buying opportunities and a lot of fear if this happens. But for the most part, fear can be good buying opportunities. And we'll look more into these different, indicators for technical analysis in future videos. But I just wanted to show you some lines on a screen and make some predictions, get them out there before these things start coming to fruition. Or not. If I'm wrong about this stuff, I will very clearly come out and say, hey, I was wrong, and this is where I may have looked at something wrong. Because you have to be nimble and able to adjust your thesis at any given time. So my thesis is playing out right now, and I'm gonna play to this until it gets invalidated. If we break up through this triangle, that's good news. Everybody's bags will pump. But I think our top side is higher if we get this move down to the support level. If we break up through this triangle and get our breakout now, I don't even know if we'll hit 100,000 before we hit our market peak. So I'm kind of rooting for this scenario to occur. But anyways, I hope this was helpful. Risk manage your portfolios, guys. Make sure you have cash on the side to buy dips. And I never give financial advice. This is all opinion. But I wish you all a good day. Thank you.